Now I'd like to introduce our candidate, our future advocate in Annapolis, as he's been an advocate for our community and for our community values here in District 11 and across Baltimore County. I'd like to introduce Sheldon Laskin.
Thank you, Dana, and also thank you, Doug. Thank you, Catalina, Elizabeth, Monica, and David for coming out today. And I'd like to thank two more people without whom this campaign would not have been possible. That's my wife, Fran Ludman. Please stand up. And my daughter, Erica Laskin. Erica just wrote a paper on the omnibus crime bill for her MSW program at the University of Maryland. I read it and I learned a lot from it. I really did learn a lot from it. I declared my candidacy in February, and is that better? And shortly thereafter, after we got some press coverage, I got a letter. I got a letter from a gentleman who is confined in jail, and I'm not going to tell you exactly where. There's some details I'm not going to share with you because I don't want to make life more complicated for him. But he's confined in jail. He was denied bail. He told me that he wasn't writing me about his current charges. He's got a lawyer. He's obviously not happy about being in jail on current charges, but that wasn't what he was writing me about. He wanted to write me about the background to his case. When he was 20 years old, in 2000, he got involved in crime, and he was arrested, and he was charged, and he was convicted. While he was in jail, he said he signed up for every course he could take on anger management, substance abuse. He joined NA, he joined AA, he went to all the sessions. He earned certification in a skilled trade. He was released in 2012, and he started to look for a job. It took him a year to find a job because he had a criminal record and nobody wanted to take a chance on him. Until he finally found, after about a year and a half actually, he found an employer that was willing to take a chance on him and hired him in a skilled trade. Over the years, he married, he had 3 children, he bought a house, and then he was arrested again this year, and bail was denied. What he was objecting to is that after all these years where he had turned his life around, all the prosecutor wanted to talk about at the bail review hearing were these 2,000 crimes, these crimes in 2000. Maybe he would have been denied bail anyway, but the point is this: are we really serious about giving people second chances in the criminal justice system? You know, we say an offender has served his time, but do we really mean that? What relevance did these almost 20-year-old charges have to his being denied bail today? He was literally half his age then. I mean, for anybody who's been 20 and is now 40 or older, you know you're not the same person that you were back then. What relevance did that possibly have? The same thinking behind using these old charges to justify a current denial of bail also infects our or some people's thinking about mandatory minimums and enhanced sentences. When you think about it, a mandatory minimum or enhanced sentence is saying you're not worthy of rehabilitation, you're not worthy of reintegration in society until you serve this arbitrary period of time that's not based on any empirical evidence whatsoever. We won't really consider you to be eligible to rejoin society until then. And of course, at that point, it is so much harder to work to reintegrate someone into society. Their family has been destroyed. Any job that they may have had, forget about it, it's long since gone. They're not in a position to reintegrate into society. A couple of weeks ago, some of you may have seen an article in the New York Times that on one level was very funny. In the Netherlands, correctional unions are complaining because correctional officers are losing their jobs because the prisons are closing, and as the prisons are closing, the crime rate is going down. And that's because the Netherlands takes seriously that the goal of, I don't even want to say incarceration, of the criminal justice system should be immediately to work to rehabilitate, immediately to work to reintegrate someone in society from the day that person is arrested. You assess that person, you see what services they need, you start to provide those services, you work to get them back in the community as quickly as is safely possible, which includes releasing them to work at a job during the day. That's what Dallas Dance is going to be doing in Baltimore County. He's only serving time at night for what he did. We should do that wherever that is feasible to do as early as possible, get them back in the community, get them producing in the community, get them back to their families, and get them out as early as possible. Sentences like mandatory minimums and enhanced sentences, in addition to everything else it does about devastating communities, it creates a mindset in the rest of us that, well, until they've done that, they're simply not eligible to be rehabilitated. They're not eligible to be reintegrated in society. And we have to get away from that. And we're not going to get away from that as long as we keep relying on these policies that are repeatedly shown not to work. You know the common definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. There have been more than enough studies. Whole forests have died studying the effect of mass incarceration on the individual and on society. It doesn't work. It's never worked. What makes us think it's going to work now? Of course, it's not going to work now. I want to share a few statistics with you, just because I happened to see an article today in the Washington Post by Neil Franklin, who was with the Maryland State Police for 23 years. He was with the Baltimore City Police Department for 11. He was analyzing the original Zirkin bill. The original Zirkin bill would have allocated $202 million for prison construction. For crime prevention, it would have allocated $12 million. What's our priority here? Rehabilitating people or warehousing them? Over 200 police chiefs, sheriffs, and prosecutors have come out publicly to decrease the prison population, not to increase it. This is a quote from the article, mandatory minimums and enhanced sentences are not an effective strategy. They are a mistake we keep making. The cost of imprisoning one person for a year can pay for drug treatment for 8 adults, employment training for 7, housing for 30 families, and GED courses for 37 people. That's how you reduce crime, by allocating the resources necessary to turn people's lives around, rather than mandatory sentences and mandatory minimums, enhanced sentences, which Senator Zirkin seems to think will accomplish what it's never accomplished before. So anyway, when I get to Annapolis, I'm going to be working to reduce the prison population, to hopefully close prisons, to reallocate that money to education, including vocational education, which we sorely need, quite apart from criminal justice issues. It used to be that unions had apprenticeship programs where you could learn to be a plumber, an electrician, an HVAC specialist. The unions are decimated, so those programs are decimated. The school systems need to provide those as an integral part of the curriculum. Not everybody can go to college. Not everybody should go to college. You can have a very honorable and decent livelihood from the skilled trades, and we need them desperately. So as we reduce money, wasteful money, the prisons, in addition to everything else, are just a drain on resources. And we can reallocate that money towards towards smart on crime programs that have been shown to be effective, and to education, which at the end of the day is the tool for getting people out of life of crime. Thank you.